Hi, my name is Oguzhan and I'll be talking about pixel B5, which is located on the west of the Commuun Plateau, right on the edge in the municipalities of Zolder, Beringen and a little bit of Hotel Helchteren. The water quality in these streams are generally really bad. They are contaminated due to human activity and the destruction of natural water treatment systems like wetlands. A good example of how it should be is the Zwarte Beek, which is situated in the north where the natural balance is being restored for some time now. This slide shows the available sewage in the pixel. We can see that most of it is mixed sewage, meaning wastewater gets mixed with rainwater. In some locations there is rainwater drainage available, but this is also combined with mixed sewage. The issues with this is that first of all, wastewater gets thinned out to be then treated in a wastewater treatment facility, and secondly, during heavy rain, contaminated water can get into streams and rivers from via overflows. Our current solution for this situation is a separated sewer system. This means that wastewater gets separated from the rainwater. The problem with this is that it costs quite a lot and it is simply not feasible in the Flemish context. The solutions that I'll be proposing for these issues is to be found in permaculture. Permaculture is a system based on natural cycles and ecosystems. It's a very holistic approach, so it's not only answering the questions regarding food and growing your own food, but also water. This slide shows the central zone for the sewage system within this pixel. You can clearly see these odd shapes in low density areas, but the question remains, how can permaculture or permaculture communities rather provide solutions for the current issues, and where do we start? These odd and inefficiently placed shapes that are sticking out of the main area are perfect places where we can form permaculture communities. So these are the places where we will start forming these communities. These communities will be disconnected from the sewage and they will treat their own wastewater locally and introduce this wastewater into a new cycle that can be used within the principles of permaculture. In the Flemish landscape, it is quite hard to set up communities due to the fact that everyone is living very privately in enclosed plots. First of all, we need to get rid of this system and introduce a more neighbor-friendly and collective landscape. To prove my concept, I will be zooming into one of these streets. It's a dead-end street in Zolder. It again consists of these very private plots with private gardens and enclosed areas. For the black water, I'm suggesting to compost fecal matter and collect these in a sort of central hub, a central greenhouse, which will also capture the heat that is released from composting, and also the compost will be used in gardens. The grey water will be treated in constructed wetlands along the streets. The effluent of these constructed wetlands will be used in gardens and the central greenhouse that I mentioned earlier. For rainwater, my solution is to first of all capture the rainwater that is collected via the roofs, and for the rainwater runoff from pavement, I suggest that these get infiltrated along the road. With these proposed solutions, the streets would be considered as one big productive plot where a community of people live within the parameters of permaculture. The absence of social relations in the typical Flemish landscape will be eliminated through this project. If we zoom in, we can see the central hub, the greenhouse that I mentioned earlier, where all the processes take place. It's basically the heart of the community where cultivation of vegetables, composting, but also gathering will happen. The building consists of 3 parts: the warm greenhouse, the cold greenhouse, and the community house. On the left-hand side, we can see a warm greenhouse with the compost bins. This greenhouse can also be used as sort of like a nursery where plants can have the opportunity to germinate earlier. The middle is a classic greenhouse, and on the right we have the community house. The construction is extremely simple in order to make it so that the community could build it themselves. It consists of wooden timber beams that are connected with steel brackets. The private garden will not necessarily lose their privacy due to the enclosed nature of dense and productive vegetation that is placed throughout the community. Shared access bridges and/or pathways are required in some areas, and a network of slow roads within and between communities will strengthen the connections. So in the future, more and more permaculture communities can be formed, and eventually the inefficient and poor quality sewers will be obsolete, the productivity of the Flemish rural landscape will increase, and most importantly, we will understand the role of nature and water in our daily lives.